Hello, I'm Didier Jean-Baptiste, the Dean of the Senior Class at St. Benedict's. Welcome to our third day of the Senior Awards Ceremony for the Class of 2020. This event, traditionally a dinner held on the Thursday before graduation, has been moved to this virtual format this year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But the purpose and spirit remain the same. We're here today to recognize each member of the Class of 2020 and to present a dozen or so awards to students who have excelled in leadership and academics and displayed exceptional character and spiritual development in their years at the Hive. Each senior will be spoken about by a faculty member. We honored those from Maroon section and Blue section the previous 2 days, and we'll resume today with the seniors in White section, followed by those in Gray on Thursday. When all of the seniors in a section have been recognized, the finalists, if any, from that section for the Presidential Award, St. Benedict's most prestigious award, will be announced. The winner of the Presidential Award, along with other senior awards, will be announced at Friday's convocation. But before opening the event to our faculty speakers, I first asked Father Edwin to start us off with a prayer.
Thanks, Didier. Let us pray. Lord, we give you thanks tonight for the gift of life. We ask, as we draw near to celebrating this great solemnity of Pentecost, this gift of the Holy Spirit, we ask a double portion of your Spirit that we may have wisdom and insight and knowledge and fear of you, and that we may have fortitude to stick with things. And we ask that these members of the class of 2020 be held in the hollow of your hand and near to your heart, that these gifts of the Spirit may work through them, that somebody else may come to know you through them as they move from us out into the world on university campuses, on jobs, wherever they may find themselves. We pray that they may always be true to you and never shrink from the responsibility that they have received to go to the ends of the earth to announce the good news of new life as in your resurrection. We make our prayer in your matchless and mighty name. Let all in accord say amen.
Amen. Amen. Thanks, Father Edwin. Our first student today, the first representative of Father John, is Xavier, who will be addressed by Mr. Molina.
Xavier is one of the goofiest, fun guys we've ever had on the fencing team. He's the kind of guy who likes to use catchphrases and crack jokes as often as possible. He started off as an epéist, then left for a season, and came back as a manager for 2 seasons. Xavier wasn't the hardest working manager we've ever had, but he and our previous manager, Anton, helped us make the equipment room the most organized and the best it has ever looked. Xavier's presence on the fencing team had nothing but a positive effect. In fact, the only time I really scolded him was when at one meet, he did not cheer at all for the team while he was keeping score. I remember telling him that even though he wasn't fencing, he could have a huge effect on the match by using his personality to boost morale and to boost confidence. Xavier, you have the ability to make people's lives better just by being in the room. Keep working on yourself, but also be aware of the impact you can have on others. Use it to your advantage and use it to help others. Stay away from unnecessary drama, surround yourself with good people, work hard. And I expect you at the next Thanksgiving practice we have, whether it's this year or next year. We're going to miss you.
Thanks, Mr. Molina. Ryder. And Ms. Kranz, please tell us a bit about Ryder.
So there's a fake rumor around the school that the class that I teach at Benedict's is difficult. And actually, Ryder is the one to blame for that. So last spring, I had Ryder in my pre-calculus class. And after the first few quizzes and tests, I noticed that this kid kept getting 100s. And no one gets a 100 in my class. So every time I wrote a new test or quiz, I wrote a test or a question specifically to trip up Ryder because I didn't want him to get another 100. And every time he got a 100, so I just had to keep making them more difficult. And so forward to this year, I had Ryder all year in calculus, and he continued to do a great job. And I think calculus gave him a little bit more of a match. And I know I gave him a really hard time that the old Ryder needed to come back because the new Ryder was slacking. He always was such a fantastic student to have in class and would always shake his head at me and say, "Miss Kranz, you don't need to make it more difficult." So Ryder, I've been so impressed by you over this past year and a half, and I've really enjoyed being able to share math with you. I'm excited to see what you do next year at University of Delaware. You're well equipped for it, and I know you're going to be great. And don't hang out with Christian too much.
Thanks, Ms. Kranz. Mr. Adubato, you've got Henry.
I first had Henry in world religions class back when he was a quiet, reserved transfer. Little did I know that years later, he'd become my favorite person to make fun of. Back in the beginning, few of us knew about Henry's talent as an actor. It wasn't until I saw him take on his role of a street thug in his final video project for my class that I realized that he was hiding his talent underneath this shell. So I made it my mission to pull him out of the shell by poking fun at him in class. By the time I had him in senior religion, he would always come into the room with some wisecrack, looking to insult me before I could say anything to him. But aside from his talent as an actor and his lack of talent in making fun of me, Henry is a sensitive and caring person with a big heart. And it's my hope that he's able to combine his talents, his sincerity, and his sense of humor as he takes his next steps into the future. Best of luck, Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Adubato. Our next student is Lucas. Father Edwin?
Yeah, Lucas, I'm glad to talk about Lucas because, as you guys know, here recently I was in outer space and I passed Lucas while he was out there. He comes back periodically. He zooms out around the backside of Pluto and then returns to us here and frequently winds up in convo and trying to figure out how to live in this atmosphere with oxygen and everything. Which is kind of new to him sometimes. Lucas is the guy that says very little, but is a silent, solid person for the class of 2020. I've had the privilege of praying and celebrating the Eucharist with Lucas for the last several years, and I know of his faith. I'm grateful for his faith and his good example. And every class needs somebody that's a little bit off center. And Lucas is that one of the guys in this class that's a little off center, sees the world differently, hears a different drum beat, and brings that to, is not afraid to bring that here to the endeavor at school. So I'm grateful for his off-centeredness. I'm grateful for his seeing the world in a little bit of a different angle, for hearing a different drum beat. And I trust that he'll continue to work hard as he moves on from us and not be afraid to share his angle and his view on things with those lives that he touches. Lucas, thank you. You were, it was always great to pass you, zooming past the moon, out towards Pluto, and then around and back again. So keep it up, keep up your courage, and don't be a stranger to us. Thanks for everything that you've done for us. I appreciate it deeply.
I've got the next student, Hojin. So, Hojin, is it Hojin or is it July? I don't know how much you like that joke. I know that June likes it, but thanks for following in June's footsteps as our second student to take the long journey from South Korea to St. Benedict's. I'll never forget that rainy morning this past fall when you and June just jumped out of a car and jumped into a 5K race to raise money for our trip to Notre Dame. The gun went off. Sunil took the lead easily. I was in second place, struggling to keep Sunil in my sights. You were somewhere in the back chilling. And then all of a sudden, 5 minutes into a race, you were on my shoulder, holding a big jug of water. And you exchanged some pleasantries with me and then said goodbye and then started chasing after Sunil. and then I lost you. I don't think you ever caught Sunil, but I thought to myself, how does this big guy with a big jug of water run so fast, so effortlessly? But in the back of my mind, I knew the answer. I mean, I'd seen you playing soccer on the soccer field. You're a phenomenal athlete that makes everything look easy, which is what phenomenal athletes do. And from the many chats in our office, I also know that you're also a little bit lazy. So it looks easy because you're taking it easy. I think sleep is your second favorite hobby after playing soccer. But I also know that you've learned this year that going forward, academics have to join soccer and sleep in your list of favorites. This is no longer high school in South Korea where soccer players can take it easy. You're moving on to college, and you and your parents have big dreams for yourself. And you know that in college, you're going to have to put as much emphasis on your academics as you do your soccer. So I'm excited to see you take your next step towards those dreams at Fullerton Community College out in California. All the best to you, Hojin. Our next student is Carlos. Mr. Cassidy, he's your responsibility.
Carlos, you have such a great spirit and soul, and you really light up a room, for me at least. You bring a smile to my face all the time. You are just a naturally pleasant person. And I've watched you with the water polo team and with your company on the trail and with your group be such a cheerleader for guys. You really are a super supportive friend and teammate, and one that is always there for people that need you. Earlier this year, you had a little slip up, and you kind of allowed yourself to say some things that probably shouldn't have been said. And I can say from having spent time with you that I recognize that nobody felt worse about what happened there than you did. And so discipline being one thing, you didn't need the discipline because you beat yourself up about just losing sight of who you were for a minute. I'm really proud of all that you are and all that you've become. I've loved having you in my class this semester. You are such a role model to the other students in class about how to be a true student. And I wish you all the best as you move on to Rutgers Newark. And I expect you to be coming back and helping out with the water polo team.
Thank you, Mr. Cassidy. I have the pleasure of speaking about Joao. Joao, you're a very serious guy, and I admire you for that. You came to Benedict's to study and to play soccer, and you were laser focused on that. You got the job done in the classroom, earning high honors despite learning in a foreign language for you. And you contributed to our soccer program. You carried that intensity to your college application process. You've poured a lot of energy into finding the best deal for you and your family and into finding scholarships. I don't think there's another guy in the class who's applied for more scholarships than you. This reflects not just your seriousness and passion, but also your concern for your family. I just looked at your brag sheet again and realized that you like to play tennis and are a fellow Rafa Nadal fan. That's enough to make you one of my favorite people. So you've got all the tools to be successful at Florida Gulf State University next year, and I wish you all the best, Joao. Our next student is Kyrie. Mr. Delaney.
Kyrie, my friend, and my right-hand man with the transfers. Or I think maybe I was your right-hand man because you basically carried the transfers all year. What a blessing it's been having you in school these past 3 years. I can say for certain that when you got here, you needed St. Benedict's, but I think even more so, St. Benedict's needed you. I remember when you first came in as a transfer, you immediately fit into the school, you became involved, you made friends, you just bought into the place, right? And it must have seemed like a pretty crazy place to you at the time. The beginning of your junior year, you became a transfer counselor. I was so excited to have you on board. At the end of the summer, I immediately knew that you were going to be my transfer leader next year. And you were selected your senior year to the senior 7, which says a lot about your character. Right? We don't get a whole lot of transfer students getting into our top 7. You're a great role model for all transfer students. You're a great role model for all students at the school. You're an example of the success that a transfer student can have at Benedict's. My only regret is that we didn't have you all 4 years. You're one of the most sincere, kind-hearted, loyal person I've ever met. I can honestly say that I couldn't have run transfer orientation without you. You basically ran it. I sat back and watched you for the most part. Kyrie, I don't know what was going on in your life in the last 6 months, but whatever monsters or ghosts or demons that you are facing, please, my friend, do whatever you can to deal with them, okay? Talk to someone, talk to me. If not me, someone else, okay? I consider you family. I hope you keep in touch. Best of luck to you next year at Monmouth. I know you're going to do great things, buddy.
Thanks, Mr. Delaney. Jose is for Mr. Molina.
Jose transferred to us his sophomore year from Bolivia and was very quiet and very reserved when he first got to Benedict's. Fast forward 2 years, and Jose was my assistant group leader in Boniface Rieger and the team captain for the varsity B soccer team. Jose has become very outspoken. He looks after his fellow group mates and his teammates. He has been a huge part of why our group has been as good as it was this year. And even though he is in Bolivia right now, he has done great work keeping our group together while we are apart. Among Jose's greatest accomplishments in BR was consistently beating me in chess during our Friday game days. But seriously, it's been an honor watching you find yourself and come into your own. And I was proud of how you took some guys under your wing to make them feel comfortable, to help them with homework, or just to counsel them. I know the future is uncertain for you right now with college because of everything going on, but I wish you luck on whatever you decide to do. Stay in touch. Thanks for everything you did for us. BR will miss you.
Thanks, Mr. Molina. I'm coming back to you for another one of your Father Boniface guys, and that's Munir.
Munir transferred to us relatively recently. He didn't start at St. Benedict's. And when I first met him, I immediately recognized how smart and kind a person he was. He really embodies the phrase, gentle giant. He seemed to really understand our motto, whatever hurts my brother hurts me, intuitively, very quickly. I had the pleasure of having Munir in physics class and in group. We had some great conversations about science and politics. Coach Art told me this quote about Munir. Munir is an extremely respectful and diligent worker. He is very determined to be successful as an athlete and a student. During online learning, Munir has continued to be a fantastic student. And for the Easter project we did, he drew this beautiful and thought-provoking piece. Munir and his brother also won the farthest distance thrown in the egg toss lab that we had online for physics. So Munir, keep working hard, keep being who you are, that kind person who cares about other people, and I wish you luck on whatever you end up doing next year.
Thanks, Mr. Rodriguez. Sorry, Mr. Molina.
That's okay.
I'm going to ask Mr. Rodriguez now to help us out with Barrelson.
Barrelson, or all men as I call you, you are, unlike the other students that I will speak about, the one that I came to know last, and yet probably the one that had the highest impact on me in the shortest amount of time. You've been with us for several years, but I've never had you in class. And until I spoke to Mr. Gallo, I knew nothing about you. You decided to be a part of 520 to provide yourself with a college opportunity next year. And in this setting, I've come to see how reliable and hardworking you are. You've done everything you could in order to put yourself in a position to be successful and accomplish some goals. At times, helping the school in 3 settings on top of being a student, something that most teenagers would not even consider. You are reliable, hardworking, committed, and enthusiastic about the future. You possess all the tools needed to continue to be a positive member, an immigrant in a nation of immigrants. I will miss the many conversations we had, but I'm happy to hear you will stay close. Thank you for all your help this year and everything you've taught me in this short period of time. I hope we have many more conversations to come.
All right, Mr. Rodriguez, you're up again. Another one of the guys from Father Boniface, Connor.
Connor, I have to say that at times I felt like you were a part-time student due to the many trips and your sometimes goofy or clownish personality. I don't think that the rest of your Spanish 4 class combined missed as many days as you did. However, over time, I've come to respect you and admire you for your commitment and dedication to your dream. You're academically and athletically talented. And like some gifted athletes, you hide your true academic potential behind your athletic gifts. I hope that as you continue your athletic and academic career, you put as much, if not more effort and emphasis into your academic perfection. You are bright, you are determined, you are motivated and a risk taker, as it showed in your decision to leave your family behind to come to St. Benedict's. Take that same risk in becoming the best student you can be, and not just a good student. And you will see that those opportunities will open as they have through soccer. It has been a pleasure to have you in class, and although you and your fellow classmates and teammates might have frustrated me a little bit, to say the least, you were a great addition to the class. I wish you the very best as you start a new chapter at Assumption College.
Thanks, Mr. Rodriguez. Our next student is Nico. Mr. Duffy, a few words about Nico, please.
Nico's a legacy in that he followed in the footsteps of his uncle. But in fact, he's the start of a new lineage, as he has 2 younger brothers in the school currently. Nico, you're a great guy who's dependable and steadfast. Never one for the spotlight. And I got to see this firsthand in class in the lower division and on the soccer field, but especially freshman year when you walked the trail with me, and how you proved your character over and over again as we walked along the Appalachian Trail. It was great to see you improve your grades as you went through high school, this year being your best academically. I also watched you mature over the years as you switched from soccer to water polo and eventually started working in what we're now calling frontline workers or essential workers while you work at the supermarket. Continue being a good example for your younger siblings, and good luck to you at Montclair State University.
All right, Mr. Duffy. Mr. White, Angelo, please.
Angelo, for a long time, we weren't sure you were going to make it. A lot of your friends who you had freshman year are no longer here at St. Benedict's Prep. But sure enough, you found a way to finish. I'm glad I won't have to, curse you out about wearing Uggs to school anymore, or trying to do your homework during convocation. But you're a great kid. You have a lot of potential in terms of your ability, especially academically. And hopefully you're able to find your path. All right. Please do whatever you can to find your way to be around better examples of people who exemplify the things that have gotten you this far, because ultimately that's what's going to help you survive and thrive in life as you get older. Best of luck as you decide what to do in your career path moving forward. Don't be a stranger. The Hive is always here.
Thanks, Mr. White. Ms. Kranz, you've got Tokes.
Tokes, if sometime in my life I ever build a roller coaster, it will be named after you because that's what teaching you has been like for the past year and a half. There have been some high highs and some low lows. Every day was a game of Russian roulette to see how you entered my classroom. Some days you would come in dancing and singing and telling me that today is a beautiful day. And other days you would be falling asleep before I even started the lesson. There's a quote by Michael Jordan, which I'm sure you've heard, that said, some people want it to happen, some people wish it would happen, and others make it happen. You do a lot of wanting and wishing, and you're very willing to make things happen by doing pretty much everything except what's required to make it happen. Even to this morning, asking me if the class could vote on whether or not I would raise your grade. You need to work hard to raise your grade and study and do your work. You have the capacity to achieve all of these great things. It's up to you to put the work in and do the right thing. So I've really appreciated and enjoyed having you in my class, even on those rough days. I'm going to miss you, but I want you to start this new chapter on the right foot at NJIT next year. Good luck.
Thanks, Ms. Kranz. Father Ed, Matt. Father Ed, you're muted.
Mr. Lopina keeps muting me. Well, it's better than Anthony. Matt tells you how old I am, especially the parents may want to know this, since I had Matt's dad when he was a student here as well. And I'm glad that number one, I'm glad his dad had enough faith in us to send his son. I'm glad Matt had enough confidence in his dad to follow him and come here. It's not been an easy road for Matt. It's from time to time been a struggle, but he never gave up the struggle. He stayed when he could have left, and has stuck it out both in soccer and in the classroom. And I'm grateful for his presence, and it makes me nervous because I don't know whether I want to be around when Matt's son comes to Benedict's or not. I mean, when I have the grandchildren of guys that I had, it may be time to call it quits. I don't know. But Matt, thank you for continuing the legacy, and you continue to struggle and to work hard. Don't give up. Don't give up. You have a tendency every once in a while to give up on yourself. Rev used to sing a song, "Don't give up. God has never lost a battle. Don't give up." So just stick with it in good days and in bad days. Stick with it, and you will be rewarded by life, I'm sure. So keep your courage up. Thank you for continuing the legacy. And I look forward to seeing you in your visits here in the future.
Thanks, Father Ed. Our next student is Jamar. Ms. Kranz.
Jamar, when I was trying to think of a story to tell about you, I had trouble thinking of one specific memory. So I was like, if I can't think of a specific story, why do I want to talk about Jamar? And that's just because the overall good feeling that anyone gets when they think of you. You bring a lot of joy to the people around you. Whether it's your dance moves and grand gestures in combo, the support of your teammates, or just the smile that you bring to the room. It brings a lot of good spirit, and it motivates the people around you. And that's a very necessary trait, especially for the difficult times that a lot of us are facing right now. You're an incredibly hard worker. You did not give up on that B+ for the entire semester in pre-calculus. And even though where you're headed is known for its sunshine, I think you're going to be actually bringing a lot more when you head to Cal State Northridge next year. Congratulations on your scholarship. It was well earned, and we look forward to hearing all the great things that you're going to do.
All right, Ms. Kranz. Mr. Adubato, please share a bit about Brandon.
Many of us know about Brandon's goofy sense of humor and playfulness. I didn't have to look up to know he was entering the classroom. All he had to do was walk in and start talking in one of his weird voices or doing one of his impressions. But what I'll remember most about Brandon, more so than his goofiness, is an experience we shared on the senior field trip to the cloisters and the Cabrini Shrine in New York. After taking too long at the Cabrini Shrine gift shop, I was trying to rush everyone out so we could make it to the cloister. Mind you, we were running a half hour behind schedule already at this point. We finally got everyone out and across the street. And as we were walking, Brandon spotted a small, older lady who was struggling to make it onto the sidewalk. Brandon asked me if we should stop to help her. Determined to get to the cloisters in time, I said, "Brandon, that's a really nice thing of you to do, but I'm sure she's fine. Don't worry about her." So as I started getting everyone to walk in the direction toward the cloisters, I turned around and I saw Brandon that did not listen to me. And he went back to help the woman, who actually was not fine at all. Although I first reacted with frustration, I ended up being grateful that he didn't listen to me in that moment of distracted impatience. Brandon taught me an important lesson that day, that sometimes you need to let go of your plans in order to respond to what's needed of you in the moment. And I hope that Brandon will be able to share both his goofiness and his sincerity with others in his future endeavors. Best of luck.
Thanks, Mr. Adubato. Xavier, Mr. Rodriguez.
Xavier, between your facial hair, your demeanor, and your motivation, I had to ask myself if you were a high school student when I first met you. You came to us as a transfer, and you quickly found a home at Benedict's. In my Spanish class, and through the many conversations and presentations and assignments, I quickly realized how mature and motivated you are. You are ready to make the world your own. And with such adamant interest in real estate, you are literally ready to open many doors as you open a new chapter of your life. You are polite, kind, motivated, understanding, rational, disciplined, and hardworking. All things that will make you successful in life. And I hope you do not limit your options only to real estate and see that education will open as many doors within the world you desire. After all, with your maturity, your demeanor, your intellectual ability, and your looks, to me, you're the most interesting man of the class of 2020. Stay thirsty for success, my friend. Buena suerte, Xavier. Stay in touch with all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Ms. Tordo, you've got two guys. We're starting off with Father Casimir, starting the group of guys from Father Casimir, and the first one is Justin. I'm sorry, is Juan.
That's good. That's what I thought too. So I feel pretty lucky to have discovered Juan late in his St. Benedict's career while we were on the exchange trip to Israel this past fall. We chatted our way through the alleys in the old city of Jerusalem and discussed the separation of the sexes at the Western Wall and laughed while we were making chocolate at a kibbutz. As anyone who has ever traveled with a group knows, not everyone makes a great travel companion. Juan's congeniality, his willingness to share his experiences and perspectives, and his embracing of new experiences makes him a fabulous travel companion, as well as an interesting and evolving person. He also represents himself with authenticity and is truly interested in what makes other people their authentic selves as well. When you talk with Juan, he focuses on you and what you have to say. And that's one of the many reasons why I think he will do really, really well in the hospitality industry after he completes his studies at the County College of Morris. So good luck next year, and I'm so glad to have shared the experience in Israel with you.
Thanks, Ms. Tordo. Your second consecutive guy is Kevin.
Kevin is a heavy hitter. He's a gifted academic, a fair and even-keeled leader, and a faithful family man. He's also somewhat of a polymath with these talents in writing and in mathematics, as well as these sleeper skills in music that he doesn't necessarily share as much as I wish he did. And he consistently indulges his deep enjoyment of learning and thinking. He even describes it as a hunger for knowledge in his brag sheet. That's one of the things I admire most about Kevin, that he takes his big brain and revels in using it, that the world around him and all the knowledge in it is truly his amusement park. Kevin, I know that you and I have something very much in common as far as being perfectionists, but please remember that there are some really valuable experiences in life that are worth having, even if you don't get them just right. In fact, they're even better that way. Keep setting a great example for others when you begin your studies at NJIT next year, and congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Tordo. Ms. Kranz, if you could say a few words about Andres.
Andres, when I first met you this fall, you were actually a student in my pre-calculus class. And after some shuffling of the schedule, there was an extra spot in calculus. And so we approached you to see if you would like that spot. And at first you said, I'm not really sure if I could handle it. It seems super challenging. And luckily, some of your group members nearby encouraged you to take the spot. And I'm so glad they did. So first, whatever in your mind told you that you didn't think you could handle calculus, you have to get rid of that immediately, because you are a very capable student. You are extremely knowledgeable, and you are a very unique thinker, which allows you to take on problems that I think other people might get stuck on. And the second is that, moving forward, I want to make sure that you take on new challenges because you're not putting yourself down. I think you are a phenomenal student, and you are a very, very kind person. And your way of thinking is necessary for so many of the issues we face in this world. We need unique thinkers, and we need people that are willing to wrap their head around these challenging problems. So it was such a pleasure to work with you in calculus, and I'm glad that I got to teach you the full year rather than just one semester. And I'm excited to hear everything you do at St. Vincent next year. Congratulations.
Thanks, Ms. Kranz. Mr. Molina, one of your fencers, Rich.
Richard is one of the best students and hardest workers I know. Rich really loves Benedict's and poured his heart and soul into the school. He spent a lot of time working incredibly hard as a group leader of Casimir Finley, as a backpacking commander with Mr. McFarland, as the lunch leader. And after school was over, he kept working hard, whether it was on the admissions team, the rowing team, or the fencing team. He was our head fencing captain, a saber fencer, and won 2 saber state prep championships. And although Richard sounds like the perfect picture of excellence, he could be a real bonehead at times too. At the last Citrullo tournament, he forgot his glove and got caught using an old one with some holes in it. So many people around him offered their backup gloves to Rich, a true sign of sportsmanship. The only problem was Rich's hand is so big, he literally could not fit the 10 gloves that were available. Eventually, we found one, and his squad went on to take 3rd overall in the state. I have to be honest, Rich, I was so worried about you guys before the season started, I fretted about it. Annoyingly so to McFarland. But you and your assistant captains were some of the best leaders the fencing team has had. This was the toughest season as head coach for me personally. Losing Mr. Vespel during this season was hard for all of us. You have no idea how much easier my life was knowing that I didn't have to worry about all the little things, that you and your assistant captains got practice running smoothly and worked everyone hard during the workouts. I know Spencer Vespel would be proud to know that you're going to his alma mater, Bowdoin College. Work hard, stay in touch, and I expect to see you at the next Thanksgiving practice.
Thank you, Mr. Molina. Mr. Rodriguez, you look a little strange to me, but you've got Jaquil.
Jaquil, this was for you. It was supposed to be a graduation or the last convocation of the year, but I figured this is just as good a setting as any other. Jaquil, you might be the best person and yet the hardest person I have or might ever have to talk about. I don't think I could even do you justice in these few words. You're an example of what Benedict's is and a perfect example of why I love working there. Many of us can say that we've been given a weak hand or have faced many challenges in life. But few of us can say that we have played that hand as gracefully and as thankfully as you have. You've never used challenges as excuses, obstacles as scapegoats, or limitations as barriers. I'm truly proud of you and thankful that years ago, you walked into the 520 room looking to help your mom and your little brother. Getting choked up a little bit here. You are strong and caring, committed and flexible, disciplined and helpful, inquisitive and non-selfish. You've taught me a lot more than I could ever taught you, and I will truly miss our bickering and constant arguments as to who's better, the Patriots or the Eagles. By the way, we know who has the most championships. Although you might have questionably won our last bet, something that might embarrass me for a few hours and cost me a few dollars, the haircut I gave you last year was priceless. You've become more than a student. You are a true friend, and I'm glad you will stay close at Drew University. Thank you, buddy.
Mr. Rodriguez, you've got one of your 520 guys, Kalijah.
Elijah, you were a witness when I agreed to this bet or stupidity, thinking I could not lose. So it's only fitting that my hair has changed a bit for your speech as well. You quickly found a home here and vastly contributed to our community. You were a quiet and reserved student at first. And although I threatened you with never hiring you after you fell asleep several times during my Spanish class, I'm glad I and other leaders forced me to change my mind. This year, you were my assistant manager and did an exceptional job, stepping in whenever there was a need with snow, extra days, coming in on New Year's Day, behavior in the room, etc. You were a great role model and an example to your peers academically and professionally. You're an outstanding student, making our honor roll list semester after semester. You were able to continue to excel academically while working every day and at times taking part in a program working with animals, where you showed us an incredibly passionate and compassionate side for animals. Kalijah, I wish you the very best, whether you decide to go to St. Vincent's or Stockton University. Thank you for your leadership and service.
Adrian, Mr. Delaney, a few words about Adrian.
Hey, Adrian. The pleasure of saying a few words about you. Our dynamic at the school is, for me, it's different. You're a senior, but you're one of the only seniors that actually never found their way into one of my classrooms. I'm pretty sure you have something like a 4.0, right? But I never had the pleasure of having you in one of my classes, and for that, I do regret that. However, you're probably one of the seniors that I've had the most contact with over the last 4 years. I've gotten to know you a lot over the last 4 years. I've had the privilege of watching you grow, or should I say, I've had the privilege of watching you shrink. I think in the last 4 years or so, you've lost something like 70 pounds or so. Coaching you in the box has been one of the most rewarding experiences for me at Benedict's. Watching you overcome obstacle after obstacle, whether it's getting your first pull-up or toe to bar, or heavy clean. You always put in 100% effort. You listened to and trusted the coaches. More importantly, you never gave up. Use those lessons, the lessons that we learned together in the box, and continue to apply them moving forward. Remember, Adrian, when you encounter an obstacle, whether it's in the box or in life, you have the discipline and the fortitude to not only overcome it, but thrive while doing so. In the last 4 years, you've truly surpassed me in the sport of CrossFit, and I hope that you continue to work out with us as you will be going to college nearby at NJCU, where you'll be studying nursing. God knows we need people like you in the medical field, where you'll be touching many patients' lives with your dedication and your big heart. So we'll see you soon, and good luck, my friend.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. We're at our last student from Father Casimir and our last student from White section, and that's Ed. And Mr. Duffy, can you close this out?
Absolutely. Edward, you know what they say? They save the best till last. Like you, I am one of 3 boys, and it's difficult for others to not compare one to the other. Must be even more difficult when you're triplets. Let me assure all 3 of you, but I'm speaking to you right now, that you're all your own individuals. In fact, Edward, you hold a record at St. Benedict's. You're the only student who has taken both of my electives in one academic year. Clearly, this was the highlight of your senior year, spending second period with me. So much so that we made numerous jokes, well, at least I did, in class, about how you were my best friend and called me every day over the breaks because you missed me. The interesting part is, I didn't have as much contact with you until this year. That was a pleasure. I did know who you were from your time on the water polo team and in the swimming pool, which unfortunately you didn't swim this year. But best of luck to you next year at Rutgers Newark.
Thanks, Mr. Duffy. And with Ed, we wrap up White's section. But before we go, I'd like to announce the finalists for the Presidential Award from White section. And those 3 gentlemen all hail from Father Casimir, and they are Jaquil Wilkes, Kevin Kaye, and Richard Ohia. Congratulations, guys. To all who are watching, this ends our celebration of the White section seniors. Thank you all for joining us. Please join us tomorrow as we recognize the seniors from Gray section, and then join us again on Friday as we announce the winners of all of the senior awards, including the winner of the Presidential Award. Thank you.